How's it going, guys? So yesterday I posted a video about Rabbi Kahane, about this whole issue with Rabbi Kahane, which is not really an issue, but a lot of people in the so-called pro-Israel community on social media, I think, have received a lot of misinformation and a lot of just straight up what we call Lashon Hara about Rabbi Kahane. Guys, I'm going to give you kind of like the Rabbi Kahane biography on one foot, because a lot of people, specifically those people that I'm referring to, they compared Rabbi Kahane to Hitler. They called him an extremist. They compared him to Hitler. What else did they say about him? Oh yeah, they said that he's a terrorist, convicted terrorist or whatever. Folks, first of all, you should know that before Rabbi Kahane got to Israel, before he moved to Israel in the 80s, his main thing here in America in the 60s and in particular in the 70s was to do everything he could for the release, and I say release as like, because we're talking about prisoners, the millions of Jews in the former Soviet Union, for them to be released from the modern day, what's called Mitzrayim, the modern day Egypt. And he did everything possible for that, guys. Soviet Jews like myself, people who were born in the Soviet Union, and everybody who is connected to Jews from the Soviet Union, you know, people like my sister who was born in America, but our parents were what's called refuseniks. We owe a debt of gratitude to Rabbi Kahane. So the so-called terrorism, you know, the reason he was put on the terrorist list, or the Jewish Defense League was put on that list by the American government, was because he disrupted any Soviet activity in the United States, physically. A ballet performance, consulates, embassies. They disrupted them, guys. They didn't kill anybody. They didn't murder anybody. They disrupted as much as they could. Now there are arguments inside the Jewish community, even in the Orthodox Jewish community, if this is the right way, if this is this, if this is that, should we do it, should we not? My friends, this is time immemorial. This is a discussion, you know, you had the Sikari or the Zealots, and then you had, you know, kind of the general, you know, thought process of Jews in the time of the Roman Empire. This is a ages-long discussion. Should we take physical action against, you know, our enemies in order so Jews, in this case, could be freed from captivity? Millions of Jews. My friends, Rabbi Kahane was one of the main leaders of that movement, of the Let My People Go movement for Soviet Jews. I would argue that without him, Jews are not let out in the 70s or 80s. He was one of the people instrumental, basically, in collapsing the Soviet Union. He's not the only person, but he was one of the main people. A lot of Jews were released from the Soviet Union in the 1970s. Some of them went to America, some of them went to Israel, directly because of Rabbi Kahane. Most of you don't know that, because most of you are not told that. You would never know that unless you are a Soviet Jew, or you just are into history and you want to actually dig further and you care to know the truth as opposed to listen to Lashon Hara. So now, we move on to Rabbi Kahane's activities in Israel. My friends, it's very simple. And I said it yesterday and I'm going to expound on it again. Rabbi Kahane came to Israel, and he basically, his main message was, the Jews have to be strong and proud of who they are. Now here come the people that compare him to Hitler of all people. Because Hitler said the same. Hitler said, oh, the German has to be proud. My friends, here's the little tiny tiny difference. The Jews in Germany and other places in Europe were not walking around and accusing the German of being an occupier in Germany and stabbing and shooting and bombing the buses of Germans. We were not doing that, right? Last I checked, if you check the history, we were not doing that. So everything Hitler did was based on straight up hatred of us. Yeah, he justified it. Oh, we run this, we do that, we do this. He came up with all kinds of stuff, largely which wasn't true, right? Conversely, Rabbi Kahane comes and says, guys, I can't even believe I'm like giving you this explanation, that this even requires an explanation. But here it is. He comes and says, hey, Israel's our land. We are not the occupiers. The Jewish people are not the occupiers of Judea, right? Of Israel. And you have these people who conquered our land, Islam, Muslims, and and they waged war and after war after war, and attack after attack after attack, before the state, after the state. He even said, he goes, the Arabs attacked us long before there was any Kahane, right? Long before I came on the scene, long before there was any state, they attacked us multiple times. So he's just coming and saying, guys, we dafka don't want to put anybody in, God forbid, concentration camps. But if they're going to continue to attack us and they're going to call us occupiers and invaders, which we are not, this is our land, right? And they know it's our land. How do we know that, guys? Because when we won in 1967, the Arabs fully expected us to kick them out. And we didn't. Why? Because A, they know it's our land. B, that's what they would have done if the shoe was on the other foot. And inexplicably, we did not. And the world wouldn't have said a thing to us, because we won. We beat them in a war of self-defense in a miraculous way over a week. So my friends, Rabbi Kahane was coming and saying, listen, we have a land, right? And he even said to a lot of the Arabs, if you want to live with us, and if you can if you can drag yourself to a place where you stop attacking us and just live with us, okay. But if you can't, then be out. Then just be out. And on top of that, guys, Rabbi Kahane literally acknowledged that Arabs have 20 countries. Granted, in most of those countries, they are also occupiers and invaders, because there's indigenous populations in all of them. In all these places in North Africa with the Berbers, and in Iraq, where the Arabs are not indigenous, and in Syria where they're not indigenous, and in Lebanon they're not indigenous. They're only indigenous really to the Arabian Peninsula, right? Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Qatar, etc., guys. But even so, he's like, guys, you have 20 countries to go live in. We have but one. It's not like Hitler, who just like, in the beginning he wanted to send us out. They had a whole plan to send us to, I don't know, Madagascar or wherever they wanted to send us to. Right? We know the history, right? Guys, to make that comparison is absolutely astounding. It's just the height of Lashon Hara. Guys, do you know why? Ultimately, I'm going to get to this kind of and close it out. Do you know why the Lashon Hara was spread about Rabbi Kahane by politicians and by the media in the 80s? Because they saw that he came on the scene, and they saw that the people who supported him, the majority of his voters, were Jews who came back to Israel, repatriated Israel from Arab and or Muslim countries, right? Don't you think that's fascinating? Don't you think that should tell us something, guys? And these people are not stupid, right? These voters are not stupid. They're not stupid people. They understand the reality of the Middle East. They understand the reality of where they live. And so these politicians and media, including the so-called right-wing guys in the Knesset, self-professed, saw what was going on, and they had no choice but to smear him and lashon hara him to I don't know, oblivion, and then eventually just ban him from being in the Knesset, ban him from running, because they knew that he would garner enough support, literally, to become the Prime Minister of Israel, if not the second in command and third in command, defense minister, some high position, right? God forbid that were to happen, right? And so they had to smear him. And the smear campaign, guys, I mean, it has lasted all of these, 40 years, 45 years since Rabbi Kahane arrived in Israel. It hasn't ended, right? To the point where, all these people are writing to me, Tzvi, you could support Israel, but why support this guy? One does not need to include the other. I said, look at the reality on the ground, and actually go look into what Rabbi Kahane said, his words in all the speeches that he ever made before Israel, during it, when he came to Israel. Look at his debates that he had. Look at when he went on American media, CNN, National Press Club. Try to disagree with even one thing that he said. Try to disagree with even one thing logically that he said. Again, you're forcing Arabs to sing Hatikva. The soul of a Jew yearns for Zion and Jerusalem. Folks, you have hatred for Arabs. You have, not him. You have. Because you're forcing them to live in your country and pledge fealty to this anthem. And if they don't, it's even more stupid. Why? Because you have 2 million people who are not loyal to the country that they live in. I'm a Jew, right? I live here in America. I have an American citizenship. I live, hetzi, Israeli and American citizenship. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I sing the national anthem, right? The American national anthem also. Because I have, at least some modicum of respect for this country. I don't want it to collapse, and I don't want to kick the people out and God forbid, call people occupiers and all the rest of it. I'm not a woke retard, right? So, guys, isn't that so stupid? Isn't it absolutely retarded? 2 million people live in your country, and you're forcing them to recite something or pledge fealty to something that is like flies in the face of their theology and their very identity. Like an Arab having to say, the soul of a Jew yearns for Zion and Jerusalem. Oh my God. What a shanda, what an embarrassment for the Arab. Do you hate the Arab? You hate them, I don't. I acknowledge that they have 20 countries. 20! My friends, and not one of them will take them. The ones who live in Israel. Isn't that funny? That's another question for another time. That's another discussion, right? I mean, I give you the simple answer. Guys, I mean, so I would advise you guys, for those of you who think that Rabbi Kahane is this and Rabbi Kahane is that, and comparing to this, comparing to that, go do yourself a favor. Go on YouTube. I'll give you some primers to search. There's a lot of content. Rabbi Kahane versus Alan Dershowitz debate. I think it's City College or Brooklyn College. Rabbi Kahane on CNN. Sandy Freeman interview. Rabbi Kahane. Let's see. What other thing you can? Rabbi Kahane on the Morton Downey Jr. show. It was like a show on Channel 9 in UPN back in the 80s and 80s. What else? Those are just some good starters. Rabbi Kahane at the National Press Club. Guys, I mean, here's stuff from the horse's mouth in English. Rabbi Kahane at the University of Minnesota. Speech. Right? They have multiple parts. It's I don't know what he said that was incorrect. I fail to find one thing that he said that was incorrect. And on top of that, I failed to find anything he did where that renders him as being a terrorist. He did not do one thing that renders him as being a terrorist, and even close to Hitler. If you actually analyze with your brain, with any logic, what he was saying and what he was suggesting, based on the reality on the ground in Israel. Like, I don't know. Folks, just goes to show, Lashon Hara is a hell of a thing. Lashon Hara, Motzi Shemra is a hell of a thing. Slander, libel, etc. I mean, wow. It's a lesson for all of us, really, in general, about Lashon Hara, what it could do. And over years, 40 years, 45 years, 50 years of just non-stop. And then when people uncover the truth, they realize, holy crap, like, it's not what people said it was. It's not what people said it is, right? And on top of that, when President Trump comes and says basically the same things, everybody's like, yay! Send these guys to Egypt and Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Astounding, guys. Absolutely astounding. Anyway. I'm rambling on, and it's already too long, this video. I hope you guys get the point. Alright, talk to you soon.